After 65, most people truly believe they're doing the right thing with food. Chicken on the plate, vegetables on the side, nothing excessive, everything looking balanced and responsible. On the surface, it sounds like the definition of healthy eating. The problem is that this very habit may be quietly accelerating muscle loss instead of protecting it, and almost no one realizes this until strength starts fading, balance feels less stable, and daily energy isn't what it used to be. Eating chicken consistently yet feeling weaker year after year isn't a failure of discipline. It's a sign that muscles are no longer responding to food the same way they once did. This video explains why chicken is no longer the best protein after 65, what truly replaces it, and how small adjustments in daily nutrition can protect strength, independence, and confidence for many years ahead, changing the way the next meal is viewed from this point forward. The real problem after 65, anabolic resistance. There's a quiet biological shift that happens after a certain age, and it rarely announces itself clearly. The mirror doesn't warn you, routine blood tests don't flag it, and casual conversations never mention it. Yet behind the scenes, the body starts following different rules. This is where protein after 65 becomes a completely different conversation, because muscles no longer respond the way they once did. What used to work automatically, eating a normal meal and maintaining strength, now requires intention. That change has a name, anabolic resistance, and it explains why muscle loss after 60 happens even when eating habits haven't changed much. Earlier in life, the body responds generously to food. A regular meal sends a clear signal and muscle repair follows naturally. After 65, that signal weakens. Muscles need stronger input, and that comes from three things working together throughout the day: higher overall protein intake, enough protein at each meal, and a strong amino acid trigger, especially leucine. This is where many well-intentioned habits fall short, not because of effort or motivation, but because physiology has quietly changed the rules. Senior muscle health depends less on eating clean, and more on eating strategically. This is also where many chicken protein myths begin. A light breakfast, a modest lunch, and a protein-heavy dinner feels logical, but muscles don't work on daily totals alone. They respond to repeated signals. When protein is delayed until the evening, muscles spend most of the day understimulated, gradually undermining sarcopenia prevention even when calories seem adequate. That's why modern healthy aging nutrition focuses on distribution across meals, rather than relying on one large intake at night. The real issue, then, isn't whether chicken is healthy or unhealthy. The more important question is whether a chicken-centered routine consistently delivers what aging muscles now require. For many people searching for the best protein for seniors, the honest answer is no. Portions tend to shrink, appetite fades, and the protein signal weakens. Chicken becomes a safe and familiar choice while quietly falling short as one of the most effective protein sources for older adults, which naturally raises a more important question about what truly works better at this stage of life. Why chicken often isn't the best after 65. Chicken earned its reputation as the symbol of healthy eating because it's lean, familiar, affordable, and easy to prepare. So when healthy habits are mentioned, chicken usually tops the list. The issue isn't that chicken is bad food, but that what works in theory doesn't always work in real life, especially when protein after 65 needs to be efficient rather than merely adequate. This is where many chicken protein myths quietly take hold. One of the biggest challenges after 60 is appetite. Taste changes, digestion slows, medications interfere, and chewing becomes more effortful, often leading to smaller meals without conscious intention. In that situation, food has to deliver more nutrition per bite. Very lean chicken breast can backfire because it's filling without being satisfying, low in calories, and easy to leave unfinished. When that pattern repeats, the body slips into an unintentional deficit and muscle loss after 60 accelerates, even when eating appears healthy on the surface. There's also the issue of muscle signaling. Muscles respond to specific triggers, not just total grams of protein. Leucine plays a major role in activating muscle protein synthesis, yet most chicken meals eaten after 65 are too small to deliver an effective leucine signal. A few slices in a salad or a light sandwich may feel sufficient, but often fall short for leucine muscle aging needs. Compared to other protein sources for older adults, such as dairy or eggs, chicken becomes less efficient at sending the message muscles need. How chicken is consumed matters as well. Many meals labeled as chicken are actually breaded, processed, fried, or loaded with sodium and additives. In those forms, chicken keeps its health halo while working against healthy aging nutrition. The label reassures, even when the nutritional reality has changed completely. Chicken also lacks some nutrients that become increasingly important with age, including omega-3 fats, vitamin D, calcium, and B12. While not harmful, it's incomplete for long-term senior muscle health when relied on too heavily. Add to that the increased importance of food safety after 65, where handling and cooking errors carry greater risk, and chicken becomes less ideal as a daily cornerstone. Chicken doesn't need to disappear, but as a default strategy for a high-protein diet seniors rely on, it's often overrated. Once that realization settles in, attention naturally shifts away from what to avoid and toward what truly supports strength and resilience now, opening the door to a far more effective and empowering approach. The 2 protein rules after 65. When it becomes clear why old habits stop delivering results, confusion gives way to clarity, and eating no longer feels like guesswork. At this stage of life, everything becomes simpler and more empowering, because protecting strength doesn't require chasing trends or obsessing over food choices. It comes down to 2 principles that respect how the body actually responds to protein after 65. Principles that quietly support sarcopenia prevention and restore confidence around eating without fear or rigidity. The first principle is aligning protein intake with aging physiology rather than outdated minimums. What once felt adequate no longer sends a strong enough signal to aging muscles. After 60, muscles don't respond to enough, they respond to sufficiency. That's why discussions around the best protein for seniors often point toward slightly higher daily protein intake, commonly around 1.0 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight for healthy individuals. Not because more is fashionable, but because less simply doesn't communicate clearly with muscle tissue anymore. What surprises many people is how easy it is to fall short while still believing meals are balanced. A very common pattern illustrates this clearly. Toast or fruit in the morning, a light salad with chicken at lunch, and a solid dinner with protein feels reasonable on paper. In reality, protein barely shows up until the end of the day. That pattern quietly fuels muscle loss after 60, even when calories are adequate. This is why experienced clinicians emphasize awareness rather than extremes, focusing on how protein is distributed instead of chasing high numbers at night. That leads naturally to the second principle, which is avoiding the habit of saving protein for dinner. Muscles don't respond to a single late signal after hours of understimulation. They respond to repeated input across the day. When protein appears consistently in 2 or 3 meals, the body gets multiple opportunities to repair and maintain tissue, which is far more effective for senior muscle health than relying on one large intake. Small, steady signals outperform late correction. In practical terms, this usually means including roughly 25 to 35 grams of protein per meal, adjusted to body size and needs, without measuring obsessively or tracking every gram. Breakfast becomes especially important here, since it's where many high-protein diet seniors unintentionally fall short. Eggs, yogurt, cottage cheese, or a simple smoothie can completely change how the day unfolds. Once breakfast is solid, lunch naturally stabilizes, and dinner no longer feels like a rescue mission. There are always exceptions, particularly for anyone managing kidney disease or other medical conditions, where targets should be personalized with professional guidance. The goal is never excess, but alignment. When these 2 principles fall into place, something subtle happens. Chicken stops feeling like the centerpiece and becomes just one option among many, opening the door to better choices that work more reliably at this stage of life. The best replacements for chicken after 65. When chicken steps off the pedestal, better tools naturally take its place. After 65, choosing protein sources for older adults isn't about variety for its own sake, but about efficiency, enjoyment, and results that can actually be felt. Strength that lasts, energy that doesn't fade halfway through the day, and confidence in how the body moves again are the real benchmarks for the best protein for seniors. High-protein dairy often becomes one of the most effective upgrades. Greek yogurt, skyr, and cottage cheese may look simple, but they deliver high-quality protein in a form that's easy to chew, digest, and repeat consistently. For many people dealing with muscle loss after 60, dairy proteins fill the biggest gap, especially at breakfast, where protein intake is usually lowest. A bowl of yogurt with berries and nuts or cottage cheese with olive oil and vegetables delivers a strong signal without fighting appetite. This is where protein after 65 begins working with the body instead of against it. Fish, particularly fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel, offers another strategic advantage by combining protein with omega-3 fats that support healthy aging nutrition and muscle responsiveness. The value isn't magic, it's efficiency. A simple meal of salmon with potatoes and vegetables or sardines on toast provides far more support for senior muscle health than another dry lean protein that's hard to finish. Eggs continue to earn their place because they solve multiple problems at once. They're affordable, soft in texture, versatile, and easy to eat when appetite is low or chewing feels tiring. Scrambled eggs with cheese, an omelet with vegetables, or eggs paired with yogurt create meals that feel light while delivering meaningful protein. Despite long-standing controversy, moderate egg intake fits comfortably into a high-protein diet seniors can sustain without anxiety. Lean red meat requires nuance rather than extremes. It's not about daily steaks, but about recognizing that completely avoiding red meat can make it harder for some older adults to maintain iron, B12, appetite, and strength. When chosen carefully and eaten in reasonable portions, lean red meat can support sarcopenia prevention. Mixing ground beef with beans or pairing a small portion with vegetables shows how strategy replaces excess. Plant-based proteins also play an important role when meals are designed intentionally. Beans, lentils, tofu, and tempeh provide protein, fiber, and gut support, all of which become increasingly valuable with age. When combined smartly, such as lentil soup with yogurt or beans with eggs and cheese, plant proteins align well with leucine muscle aging needs and fully support senior muscle health. Whey protein and high-protein supplements fit best as bridges rather than replacements. Low appetite, recovery from illness, difficulty chewing, or simply lacking the energy to cook are realities, not failures. A smoothie with milk, whey, banana, and peanut butter can quietly prevent a day from falling short. This is where many chicken protein myths finally dissolve, because long-term strength is preserved through adaptability, not stubborn consistency. As these replacements become familiar, eating stops feeling restrictive and starts feeling intelligent. Chicken doesn't disappear, it simply stops being treated as the hero. And once that shift happens, the focus naturally moves beyond individual foods toward systems that make consistency effortless, setting the stage for a simple, repeatable strategy that fits real life without constant thinking. The protein upgrade strategy. Once the confusion around protein clears, the next step isn't adding complexity, it's building a system that almost runs on autopilot. Improving protein after 65 doesn't require constant planning, measuring, or restriction. The smartest approach feels lighter, because it's based on better defaults, the kind that quietly protect senior muscle health without demanding daily effort or discipline. The first adjustment is simple and practical. Keep chicken, but stop treating it as the foundation. Chicken doesn't need to disappear from the plate, it just shouldn't be responsible for carrying the entire load. When chicken becomes part of a rotation instead of the centerpiece, pressure disappears and sarcopenia prevention becomes more realistic. This shift alone breaks many chicken protein myths, because the goal was never elimination, it was effectiveness. From there, consistency comes from choosing a small group of reliable options. A personal top 3 rotation creates stability without boredom. For most people, this naturally includes high-protein dairy, fish, and either eggs or legumes. These foods support a high-protein diet seniors can maintain long-term, because they're easy to eat, repeatable, and satisfying. When these staples are always available, meals stop being guesses and start becoming clear signals for muscle maintenance. Breakfast is where this strategy delivers the biggest return. After 60, skipping protein in the morning quietly fuels muscle loss after 60 throughout the day. Fixing breakfast doesn't mean eating more, it means eating smarter. Greek yogurt with berries and nuts, eggs with cheese and fruit, or a simple protein smoothie immediately change the day's trajectory. Once protein shows up early, lunch and dinner no longer need to compensate, and concerns around leucine muscle aging are addressed naturally without tracking or calculations. Lunch then becomes the stabilizer, not a snack or an afterthought, but a real meal that reinforces the signal started in the morning. Tuna with beans, cottage cheese with bread, lentil soup paired with eggs, or leftover salmon with potatoes all feel ordinary, yet they quietly support healthy aging nutrition by maintaining momentum without heaviness. Dinner, in turn, becomes easier. Instead of acting as the make-or-break moment, it simply reinforces what's already been done. When earlier meals do their job, dinner no longer needs to rescue the day. This steady rhythm across meals is what allows protein sources for older adults to work as intended, without panic, extremes, or last-minute correction. As this rhythm settles in, eating stops feeling like a constant decision-making process and starts feeling familiar and reliable. That's when a deeper question naturally appears, not about what to eat next, but about balance and limits, about how much protein truly helps and when more stops adding value. Evidence check. How much is too much? This is the moment where a pause becomes important. Once the role of protein after 65 becomes clear, it's easy to swing too far in the opposite direction and turn every meal into a protein mission. Bigger portions, more shakes, more supplements can feel productive, but long-term senior muscle health isn't built through excess, it's built through balance. Protein is a powerful tool against muscle loss after 60 and supports sarcopenia prevention, but like any tool, it works best when used appropriately. Extremely high intakes pushed day after day can create unnecessary strain depending on kidney function, cardiovascular risk, and overall diet quality. This doesn't make protein dangerous. It reinforces that personalization always beats imitation. A high-protein diet seniors benefit from should feel supportive, not forced. Meals still need room for vegetables, healthy fats, carbohydrates, and enjoyment. When protein crowds everything else off the plate, eating becomes rigid, and rigid systems rarely last. Sustainable healthy aging nutrition always leaves space to breathe. A common mistake illustrates this well. Jumping from very low protein intake to extreme targets overnight often leads to digestive discomfort, fatigue, and frustration, none of which improve leucine muscle aging or strength. A smarter approach is gradual. Add protein where it was missing, usually breakfast and lunch, then observe how the body responds. Strength improves, energy stabilizes, and appetite often regulates itself naturally. At this stage, listening becomes more valuable than counting. Are meals satisfying, digestion comfortable, strength improving over time? These signals matter more than chasing numbers. For anyone managing medical conditions, especially kidney concerns, targets may need adjustment with professional guidance, which becomes part of the strategy rather than a limitation. When protein is used wisely, it builds resilience instead of stress. It becomes a foundation, not a fixation, and that understanding naturally shifts attention from quantity back to application, from theory to habits that actually hold up in daily life. Conclusion. Knowing that protein after 65 plays a decisive role in strength, balance, and independence raises an honest question worth considering. What's really preventing change from starting tomorrow? Habit, comfort, or simply not realizing that better options exist? Protecting senior muscle health doesn't require extreme diets or complicated rules. It comes from awareness, consistency, and smarter choices that support sarcopenia prevention and slow muscle loss after 60 while fitting naturally into real life. Looking at daily routines makes this clearer. Are the same foods being repeated because they feel safe, even if they no longer deliver results? Are meals truly supporting healthy aging nutrition, or following advice that applied to a different stage of life? Small upgrades, choosing better protein sources for older adults, spreading protein across meals, and understanding how leucine muscle aging works, can gradually change how the body responds. Those changes compound, leading to more strength, more movement, and more confidence, which quietly transforms daily life. Take a moment to reflect on which meal feels hardest to get enough protein and which protein shows up most often right now, then share that in the comments. That exchange helps others recognize their own patterns and allows this message to reach people who truly need it. If this video brought clarity, support the channel by liking the video, sharing it with someone who could benefit, subscribing, and turning on notifications to keep learning about strength, nutrition, and long-term health. And keep the momentum going by watching the next video on screen to continue building a stronger, more confident future.